Okay, we be live. Hello, everyone. Please let me know in the live chat that you have my audio so that I could get started with peace of mind and making sure that everything technically is working. And make sure you like the stream right now. Make sure you like the stream because that will make more people end up watching this show. That would really help us with the algorithm. So thank you. Thank you. Who's late? Okay, look at this comment here, guys. This is amazing. By the way, we have a new mod today. Alfred is highlighting the comments. Thank you so much, Alfred, for highlighting your comments today. This one was highlighted before I went live, so I just wanted to read this for you. Jamal is saying, I'm just here reporting this Zionist propaganda Kufar channel on different accounts. Well, okay, on multiple accounts. Guys, this is funny. Okay, well, I admire your guys. Make sure you like the stream so that if there is anybody reporting this stream, I'm not saying that person is being serious or not, but there are people who really hate what we have to say here, and they report our streams, and that does actually hurt us. So make sure you like the stream so it undoes, the effect that might have on the algorithm. And also, once the stream is over, please make sure that you leave a comment or something, just so that more people end up watching it. Anyways, let's get to the show. I have a video from these two clowns celebrating Bassem Youssef's video. So let's just listen to what they have to say. My audio is good, right? Everything, my audio is good. People in the live chat. So yeah, Alfred, please highlight comments from the people in the live chat so that their comments is also part of the stream. Highlight as many comments as you think is relevant to the stream. All right, so let's listen to these two people and see what they have to say. And also, I want you guys to come up with a response to everything that they say before I do, so that you are part of the stream as well. So we all practice responding to their nonsense together. So you don't just wait for me to respond to something. I want this is why we have Alfred here highlighting your comments, so that together we practice together to build a counter narrative to this virus and to this that these people are spreading around, because it's working. We have to practice. We can't just point to people and say that's wrong, that's the wrong narrative. We actually have to make an argument for it and practice convincing other people why these are wrong. Anyways, let's go and listen to them.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. I'm here with Zishan. We're going to be reacting to something amazing that Brother Yusuf Bassem. His name's Bassem Youssef or Yusuf Bassem?
Bassem Youssef.
Bassem Youssef. Okay, alhamdulillah. We're going to inshallah watch this, where he's an interview. I think it's in the UK.
Okay.
I think what's it called? Time Radio. Yes, inshallah. Let's see. So this is what happened, inshallah, and what triggered him to say Israel can go F himself. Or F themselves.
Okay, interesting.
Condemned Hamas, and you recognize Israel's right to exist as well.
What is? You have the audio from the video, right? So they're responding to an interview that Bassem Youssef had on radio on a British radio channel, and at some point he said Israel could go F off, and they're celebrating this. So this is the context. By the way, Alfred, once you highlight a comment, after a couple of seconds or so, just then unhighlight them. You don't need to keep it permanently on the screen. Anyway, so Alfred is learning here. So now let's listen to what Bassem had to say and why these people are now celebrating it.
Interesting.
Condemned Hamas, and you recognize Israel's right to exist as well.
What is the use of this kind of question?
Oh Lord, nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit.
Just
no. Why is this has to be like a checkpoint? Does Britain have the right to exist?
Nice.
I think so.
What about the Palestinians' right to exist? Why is this like moral checkpoint? Does the Israel is this like supposed to scare me? What about the Palestinians' right to exist?
Yes.
Okay.
Lots of people believe in them,
but not Israel. So Israel wants us to acknowledge its right to exist.
Government.
The Israeli government and the people who voted for them was, by the way, that their society is becoming more and more radical. But let's say Israel government, they put us through all of these moral checkpoints. Does Israel have the right to exist? Does Israel have the right to defend itself? But when we ask them the same question about Palestinians, they have all of these whining answers that they don't want to exist. They don't even want the right to other people to exist.
It's true. we're all in danger.
It doesn't make sense anymore. You understand? Does it make sense to you? This whole idea about like the moral checkpoint point question that doesn't like lead to anywhere. And then when we ask the same question about Palestinians, we are faced with like all kinds of things about they're terrorists, they're animals.
For these horrible, inhuman animals.
It just like doesn't make sense.
Yes, we could talk about this endlessly.
Like
Finding-
all of these questions doesn't make it. It just fills the air.
Common-
Useless questions.
Finding
Do you
common-
condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Israel? Do you condemn Israel? Does it matter if you condemn Israel? We've been condemning Israel. They're doing whatever they want.
Yes.
These are like, haven't you just like reached a point where you're looking at these questions are very stupid?
Emotional damage.
Here's the thing about like Israeli spoken. Naftali Bennett went on one day on Al Jazeera,
Oh, yeah, we know.
and he said, not every people in the world have the right to exist. The Kurds doesn't have a say. The people in the Bas doesn't have the right.
Not everyone in the world who wants a state gets one. The Kurds, for example, don't have a state. They want one. The Basques want a state. They don't have one.
But when it comes to Israel, it's all about their right. Israel have the right to defend itself. Israel had the right to exist. And I would say, like, Israel have the right to go fuck itself.
What do you make out of that? Because like,
All right, so that was a lot of nonsense, and a lot of people, who are supporters of Israel recognize everything that he said as nonsense. But unfortunately, they don't have many people don't have the arguments. Maybe they have it in their mind, but they're not very good in explaining why the things that he's saying are wrong. I mean, many of you already know how to respond to this, but I just want more people to be able to not just say, well, this guy is obviously wrong. That's not good enough. I want you guys to be able to be equipped with the actual reasoning behind why the things that he says are wrong. So that's why we're here. We're here on this channel so that we could practice together and actually be equipped with the line by line reasoning, so that all of you are out there, you could do your part in educating people and informing people. So let's do this together. Let's go from the beginning again and then respond to everything he says line by line, okay? But also, let me actually look. Thank you so much, Darko, for being a member for 26 months. Wow, Darko is saying, reporting this channel for being too awesome. Well, thank you so much, Darko. I appreciate that. All right, let's go and answer Bassem line by line.
Bassem Youssef, Bassem.
Bassem Youssef.
Bassem Youssef. Okay, alhamdulillah. We're going to, inshallah, watch this. Where he's...
Guys, I really need you guys to like the stream. I wouldn't be asking you if it wasn't important. So please make sure you like the stream.
An interview, I think it's in the UK.
Okay.
I think, what's it called? Time Radio? Yes, inshallah. Let's see. So this is what happened, inshallah. And what triggered him to say Israel can go F himself or F themselves?
Okay, interesting.
Condemned Hamas, and you recognise Israel's right to exist as well.
What is the use of this kind of question?
So what is the use of asking this question? Does Israel has a right to exist? Well, because you don't recognize Israel's right to exist. A lot of you don't. And the purpose of the question is to understand, where do you stand on this? Like, it's so bizarre to be questioning the question. This is a very legitimate question. We have a nation state that is being threatened to be annihilated more than any other nation state on the planet. Give me an example of another nation state. Is there any other country on this planet that is as threatened as Israel? Is any other nation state's right to existence challenged as much as Israel? So when you are criticizing Israel, as you should be able to do so, I criticize everybody who loves Israel criticizes Israel, because that's how you get better. But we have to be able to distinguish between people who are criticizing Israel because they want the best for Israel, because they love Israel, and the people who are criticizing Israel because they want to end Israel, because they don't even recognize Israel's right to existence. That's the purpose of that question. So you're like, what is the purpose of the question? Because we want to know which camp. Are you the enemy of Israel or not? It's a very legitimate question. I don't understand what's your problem. You're coming to an interview. The interviewer needs to understand where you're standing, and it's a perfect question. In fact, it should be any interviewer that is not asking that question. Then you should be complaining. Do you accept Israel's right to existence? Do you condemn Hamas? Given that so many people who are acting like they are, I don't know, sound-minded people who have legitimate views that could be accepted by mainstream people within the mainstream, given that so many people who think they're supporting Palestinians, they're actually supporting evil people set for genocide of Jewish people and the destruction of the state of Israel. So many people think that they're supporting the rights of Palestinians, or they're supporting, Palestinians' right to have a peaceful life or to be free from suffering. They think that they're doing a good thing. They don't know the evil that they're supporting. So every time you're coming and taking a position against Israel, we need to ask that question to make it clear that by you avoiding answering that question, to make it clear to the people who think that they're supporting human rights, that they're actually supporting terrorism, that they're actually supporting Hamas, that they're actually supporting people who want the destruction of Israel. That is the point of that question, and it should be asked every single time. Every single time that question should be asked. Let me actually see. Thank you so much, S Hope, for the super chat saying, like the stream, dudes. Yes, please. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. That's very sweet. And also somebody in the comments is saying, the question about Israel's right to exist is because Palestinians who feel Israel does not means they can wage perpetual armed resistance. I don't know how that sentence works there. Accepting Israel's right to existence is a step towards peace. Exactly. Because we want to see who are the well-meaning people who are criticizing some actions that Israel is taking because they want to improve it, from the people who are set to just destroy Israel. That's the purpose of that question. And we want to make sure that but the main purpose, as I mentioned, is so that the people who think they're on the pro-Palestinian side, they actually have to realize they're not pro-Palestinian. They're pro-genocide. They're anti-Jewish. They're anti-Israel. They're anti-Israel's right to existence. They're supporting terrorist groups. That's what we need to make clear, because your refusal to answer that question is telling, and you trying to challenge the question. The interview, so this interviewer seems to have been weak, okay? Because when you challenge that question is because you're trying to distract the audience from the fact that you're avoiding the question. Because there's three options that you have here. As somebody who supports Hamas, or as somebody who wants the destruction of Israel, you could either transparently say it, no, I don't recognize Israel's right to exist. So basically, that would out you as a pro-genocide person, because the destruction of the state of Israel will bring in the greatest act of genocide in modern history. That would be the beginning of the greatest bloodshed of Jewish people that we have ever experienced, even more than World War II. So that's the first option, for you to transparently say that, yes, I am against the Israel existing as a country, right? Or two, you could avoid the question and don't answer it, don't condemn Hamas, or don't recognize Israel's right to exist, and that would be telling and the interviewer's job at that point would be to show that, okay, your refusal to answer this question is telling. That would be the interviewer's job. But the third option, which is the option of Muhammad Hijab, these people, Bassem Youssef, is to avoid the first and the second one, because they know that they're supporting evil, and they don't want the liberal-minded people in the West to recognize what they're supporting, right? So to avoid number one and number two, what you have to do is avoid answering the question, but then attack the interviewer for asking that question. And this is what a lot of people have recognized, that this is the best strategy. So I won't condemn Hamas. I won't recognize Israel's right to exist, but I will also attack the interviewer. Even if I have, and there's also a fourth option of people who have condemned Hamas at some point, or have recognized Israel's right to existence at some point, but they use that as an anchor so that other times they don't have to, so that they are promote the idea that the people who are actually supporting Hamas or against Israel's right to existence use their lines, use their narrative so that they don't have to answer this. So now the interviewer, instead of being in offensive mode, now has to be on a defensive mode in defending himself or herself for asking that question. And quickly in the mind of the audience, the mind shifts, the attention shifts to, oh, right, yeah, why did you ask this question? Instead of wondering, why is Bassem not answering the question? Now the audience is thinking, yeah, why should you even ask that question? So that's the trick. And the interviewer shouldn't fall for it. The interviewer should be like, okay, I will answer you, but first answer me. You're asking me why I'm asking this question. I will explain to you. But I ask the question first. Answer me, and then I will justify the question. And if the person constantly refuses to answer that question, you have to shift from Bassem or Ahmadinejad to the camera, to your audience, and make sure that everybody is understanding what's happening here. And ask the audience, why do you think they're not answering this? Why do you think this is such an easy question? I have asked this person multiple questions throughout this interview, and this person has not challenged me in asking these questions. They have easily answered me multiple times. But all of a sudden, this question is a step too far. And the interviewee is acting like this is distracting or a time waste. How come the other questions were okay and easily answerable? But this question, all of a sudden, I shouldn't be even asking that. In fact, one thing I suggest the interviewer to do is to ask whether they think there should be a Palestinian state. Okay? That's what they should start with. Do you think there should be a Palestinian state? So that they answer yes, and then ask them if Israel has the right to exist. Because if they then want to complain or challenge the question, you wonder, like, wait a second, I asked you if there should be a Palestine, and you had no problem answering that. But now when it comes to Israel, why this is a time waste and a distraction? Or ask them if they condemn Netanyahu before you ask them if they condemn Hamas. And if they answer yes, once you get to Hamas, when they start complaining about the question, you could show the double standard to your audience. That's what the interviewer should be doing. Let me see. Oh, thank you so much, Sid, for being a member for 22 months. And Sid is saying, I am 22 months old now. No, you're not 22 months old. Well, thank you for that. Okay, so I have a lot of comments start. Okay, let me see. Mariana saying, disagree, Armin. This twat doesn't get to decide if Israel has the right to exist. Stop asking people like him. No, Mariana. When you're asking people, you're misunderstanding what is being said here. When you ask someone their opinion, it doesn't mean that they get to choose that. You're confused, Mariano. If I say to you, okay, do you think we should do genocide on Jewish people? If they say yes, I have exposed them. I haven't made them the decision maker on this issue. I have exposed them. I haven't made them the authority that gets to decide that. If I ask you, for example, what you're saying is ridiculous, actually. If I ask you, do you think the world is flat? And you say, yes, I think the world is flat. All I have done is shown to my audience how stupid you are and what crazy views you have. I haven't made the world flat. I haven't made you the authority on deciding whether the world is flat or round. So I don't understand what you're even saying. Okay, so James, thank you so much for the super chat. James is saying, I think Bassem Youssef is very secular. As far as I am aware, he made fun of the Muslim government during the Arab Spring, and they came for him. That's why he had to leave Egypt. He doesn't connect Islamism to the roots of Islam. Well, James, let me tell you something. Secular people could be idiots as well. And you could have correct positions on something and absolutely insane positions on something else. So he could be secular, but guess what? Saddam was kind of secular relative to people around him, right? The Pan-Arabists were secular. The PLO is relatively much more secular than Hamas. They were also terrorists. So yeah, so just because you're secular, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not supporting something that is eventually will lead to genocide. So hey, Ayatollah Khamenei, glad to have you here with us. Oh, you miss your friend Soleimani? Okay, that's cute. But let's listen to everything else he has to say, because we're only a few seconds in.
Or nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit.
Just
Yeah, same old shit. Be like, oh, you're always asking the same question. Yeah, because it's telling, because you refuse to answer it, because it works. This question has utility. That's why we should keep asking it.
No. Why is this has to be like a checkpoint? Does Britain have the right?
Why? Because you fail at it every time. Like, why is this a checkpoint? Why do you have to? Why do you keep asking us if Israel has the right to exist? Why is this a checkpoint? Because it exposes you. It has so much utility that we have to keep using it.
Nice.
I think so.
What about the Palestinians' right to exist?
See, look at this. He doesn't understand even the question that is being asked of him. He says, "What about the Palestinians' right to exist?" The question, you don't even understand what is being asked of you. The question was not the Israelis' right to exist. The question was Israel's right to exist as a nation state. So the Palestinian rights to exist, of course they have the right to exist. Whether they have a state or not, they have the right to exist. But you are confusing about people, individual. The question was whether this nation state of Israel has the right to exist. The nation state. So when it comes to Palestine, we don't have a nation state of Palestine yet. Partly because of you idiots. Partly because you are defending people who fight Israel. If you weren't fighting Israel all the time, actually, the first question is relevant to the second question. If you had recognized Israel's right to exist, we would have Palestinian as a nation state ages ago. The fact that we don't have a Palestine as a nation state, not now, not ever before. There has never been a country called Palestine, never. But it would have been nice to have a country called Palestine if you guys were not anti-Israeli and attacking Israel all the time and challenging Israel's right to exist. So if you want Palestine to be a nation state, maybe answer the first question with a firm positive. Yes, Israel is a nation state and has the right to exist, and go convince more Palestinians that Israel is a nation state and has the right to exist. That will lead eventually to you having Palestine as a nation state. Because every time Palestine was offered to you as a nation state, you were like, not your answer every single time was not if Israel gets to be a nation state as well. That's why Palestine is not a nation state. So your response shows how unaware you are of the question that is being asked here. You're like, what about Palestinians' right to exist? You should be at the question that would match the question from the other side. What about Palestine existing as a nation state? Not the Palestinians' right to exist. What about Palestine's right to exist? Well, Palestine, as of right now, as a nation state, doesn't have a right to exist because it's not recognized as a nation state. We could move to a world where it is a nation state and therefore would have the right to exist as a nation state if you were not so anti-Israeli. The Palestine that you want as a nation state to exist was offered to Palestinians 5 times. Every time they said no, because it's all or none. As long as Israel gets to exist, we say no to our own nation state. It was Palestinians that refused themselves a nation state, unfortunately. Well, not all, but most of them.
Why is this like moral checkpoint? Is this like supposed to scare me?
Yeah, it is supposed to scare you, and you are scared. If you were not scared, you would just answer. You were like, yes, You are so terrified of this question that instead of answering it, you have to attack the interviewer. Because if this question was not scaring you, you would just say yes, and you would move on. This is kryptonite to you. It paralyzes you. You go in attack mode when somebody attacks you. This is the sign of somebody being scared of a question. Why wouldn't you answer it if you were not scared? Hey, it's easy. Does Israel have the right to exist? Yes. Next question. Easy. This is how you could have disarmed the interviewer, but you're scared. You don't want to. You know why you don't disarm the interviewer like that? You know how easily it would have been for you to move on to the next question and disarm the interviewer? Imagine how badass that would be if the interviewer says, do you accept Israel's right to exist? Like, yes. Next question. That would be a mic drop moment. As a defender of Palestinians, you're like, yeah, I accept Israel's right to exist. What about it? Next question. But do you know, this is what I want the audience to understand. The reason why you can't do that mic drop moment where you just say yes and make the interviewer feel like even stupid to even challenge you on that, to assume that you don't, because you know, here's the thing, even if Bassem is anti-Hamas, even if Bassem thinks like, okay, sure, Israel should be, he knows that his fans are pro-Hamas. He knows that his fans want the destruction of Israel. It's because of his awareness of his fans and the people that follow him. He reads the comments of the people who are celebrating as such a pro-Palestinian. He doesn't want to lose them. He doesn't want to disappoint them. That's why he is afraid of this question. That's why instead of answering it, he has to go on attack mode. Yes.
What about the Palestinians' right to exist?
Yes.
Palestinians have the right to exist, obviously. Obviously. You mean Palestine. Your question is the wrong question. All humans have the right to exist. You're asking about humans. He was asking you about a nation state. You're asking about humans. You should be asking about the nation state of Palestine, which doesn't exist yet. And that's why, Palestine does not have the right to exist as a nation state yet. Maybe you could work on Palestinians so we could get there. Maybe instead of condemning Israel all the time, you could talk to Palestinians. You could work on them to be more accepting of the reality that Israel is going to stay here with us as a nation state, and there's nothing you could do about it. If you want a nation state yourself, you should accept that. Because if you don't, you're never going to have your nation state. Oh, we got a couple other super chats. Oh, we got somebody celebrating the 4-month membership. Ramos saying, I think those two clowns have an inferiority complex. Thank you so much for your support, Ramo. Ayatollah Khamenei. Well, I didn't think I would ever get support from Ayatollah Khamenei, but I'll take it. He's saying Ali Dava on his phone ordering 700 tons of grapes for Smile to Jannah to put in his mouth. Okay, that's a reference to something else that people might not know, but thank you so much for that. And then with the shekels, well, thank you for 7 shekels, Dan, saying Bassem isn't a good arguer, he's an entertainer. Yes, but here's a problem. He doesn't have to make good points for it to be effective, and that's why we have to make these shows, because what he says like are sound bites that a lot of people celebrate, like, oh my god, that was so badass, but they make no sense. And that's why I make this show, so that a lot of other people who might be affected by what he has to say know what the counter narrative is. At least they have a little bit of doubt before they're believing all of this nonsense. And that's why you need to like and share this stream so that more people are equipped with the counter narrative. Let's continue.
Okay. Lots of people believe in them,
but not Israel. So Israel wants us to act.
So he says lots of people believe in the Palestinians' right to exist. He says, but not Israel. You're insane. Israel believes in Palestinians' right to exist more than Palestinians. Where is it? I should have prepared. Let me actually bring this CNN article. There we go. I'm actually glad. I should have had this prepared, but no matter. I just brought it up right away, so we have it here. He says, but not Israel. I'm about to show you something. Israel believes in Palestinians' right to exist. You know how I know this? Because in their attack on Gaza, in defense of what happened in October 7th, Israel's operation in Gaza was done in such a way to protect Palestinian lives more than any other army has ever done in the history of warfare. You might think that, Armin, you're being ridiculous. 40,000 people have died. You're saying Israel is protecting Palestinian lives? Yes. The reason why we have 40,000 people dying is because Gaza is the second or third most highly populated, the highest population density. When it comes to population density, it has the rank 2 or 3 in the world. Is because the enemy that the IDF, Israel's military, is fighting does not wear uniforms. So it's hard to distinguish them between civilians. It's hard to distinguish between armed combatants and civilians. And 3, because Hamas uses human shields. And that has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that Hamas operates from right next to women and children and other civilians and men, civilians, let's not forget the men, in order to increase the civilian casualties so that they could buy your sympathy. And even with all of that, Israel has managed to. So you look at the 40,000 number and you say that's a very high number. But what the number that you don't take into account is the ratio of non-combatant to combatant. If you accept the Hamas numbers, also accept the IDF numbers, that shows that the ratio is lower than the average ratio of modern warfare. So Israel, in a place where with such high population density, where with an enemy that doesn't wear a uniform, with an enemy that uses human shield, Israel has managed to get a ratio of a casualty ratio of civilian to combatant lower than average in modern warfare. It's an absolute miracle. Every Israeli should be celebrating the way the IDF has managed to do that in such an area. This would be a miracle to pull off anywhere, but to be able to pull it off in Gaza, that's an absolute miracle. And Israel does that by warning civilians when they're going to be doing attacking. They drop leaflets, they do telephone calls, they have people on the ground there risking their lives, trying to redirect civilians to places where their bombardments, they're less heavy bombardments. They do explosions on top of buildings before they bomb the building so that the civilians could get out. The things, all the measure that the IDF, Israel's military takes to try to reduce civilian casualties is above and beyond what is required by international law, and is above and beyond what any army has ever done in the history of warfare. That means that Israel's army respects Palestinians' right to live more than Hamas, more than their own government that they voted for. You want Israel to respect Palestinians' right to exist? Then get rid of Hamas. Because you know who doesn't recognize Palestinians' right to exist? This guy. Yahya Sinwar, Hamas leader, said civilian death toll could benefit militant group in Gaza war. Wall Street Journal reports. Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar celebrating civilian death. You know which civilian death he's talking about? Palestinian civilians. He's not talking about Israeli civilians. He's celebrating the death of Palestinian civilians. The military leader of Hamas has said he believes he has gained the upper hand over Israel and that the spiraling civilian death toll in Gaza would work in the militant group's favor, according to a report by the Wall Street Journal citing leaked messages the newspaper said it had seen. So this is a quote by Yahya Sinwar. We have the Israelis right where we want them, Yahya Sinwar told other Hamas leaders recently, according to one of the messages. The Wall Street Journal reported Monday. In another, Sin were said to have described civilian death as necessary sacrifices, while citing past independence-related conflicts in countries like Algeria. Right? So when we say on this channel that Palestinian lives are being used by their leaders as a weapon, their blood, their suffering, their misery, we have evidence for that. We're not making that up. So you want respect for Palestinian lives? Israel government, the IDF, Israel's military respects Palestinian lives. The government that the Palestinians have chosen for themselves sees their lives as tool for their agenda. Israel respects Palestinian lives. Palestinian government does not respect Palestinian lives. James, thank you so much for the super chat. James is saying, if I was a prime minister, I wouldn't bother with the ratio stuff. As a white, one white life is worth 1 billion Muslim lives. The Jews should say the same. No, what the hell are you talking about, James? I don't agree with anything you're saying here. If I was a prime minister, I wouldn't bother with the ratio stuff. As a what? One life is worth 1 billion. What the hell are you talking about? This is insane. Guys, am I understanding what James is saying here? No, I'm glad that Israeli military actually is not like you. Guys, am I misunderstanding this person in the live chat? Or is he actually a racist? Am I misreading this? Okay, well, that was crazy. That was insane. Is this what I think it is? If I was prime minister, am I misreading this as a white? Okay, that is insane. And the Israeli military has much higher moral standards than you, sir. The Israeli government and the Israeli military actually values human life. The Israeli government, the Israeli nation state, is a nation state that gives its Arabs and Muslim population equal right to every single other citizen. That's why we celebrate Israel. That's why we celebrate Israel. There's no better place to be a Muslim than Israel. No other Arab country, no other Islamic country gives you more rights and freedoms than Israel. Israel is a nation state where it's the best place to be a Muslim. Israel is a nation state where Muslims enjoy equal rights and freedom to every other single citizen. And this is why we celebrate Israel as a country that values human lives, all human lives. You are a racist, sir, and you're insane. Your values are completely in contradiction to what made Western countries great. Western countries are better because they value all human lives, because they respect the right of all humans to exist equally. And Israel is also a superior nation state because of these values. So yeah, no, you're insane.
To
Israeli
exist.
government.
The Israeli government and the people who voted for them was, by the way, that like their society is becoming more and more radical. But like, let's say Israel government, like they put us through all of these moral checkpoints. Does Israel have the right to exist? Does Israel have the right to defend itself?
Yeah, answer.
But when we ask them the same question about Palestinians, they have all of these like whining answers that they don't want to exist. They don't even want the right to other people to exist.
Who says that? What the right again? So he's confused. He doesn't even understand basic concepts. When people are asking Israel right to exist, they're asking you about the nation state, not the individual people. What he's insane. Yeah, he doesn't even know the question.
Does Israel have the right to exist? Does Israel have the right to defend itself? But when we ask them the same question about Palestinians, they have all of these like whining answers that they don't want to exist. They don't even want the right to.
Yeah, when you ask who does he acts like the other side refuses to answer these questions as well. That's not true. The other side answers this question quite easily. You're talking about individual Palestinians? Ask me, guys, do Palestinians have the right to exist? Yes. Easy. Now you. Okay, the nation, what about, so let's, 4 questions. Do Israelis, the people, have the right to exist? Yes. Does the nation state of Israel have the right to exist? Yes, based on international law, because Israel has been recognized as a nation state. What is the right to exist? What does the right to exist mean? Mean is based on law. Is it legal for them to exist? Right? So remember, when we're talking about rights, we're talking about law. So do Israelis have the right to exist? Yes, international law respects individuals' right to life. So check, Israelis have the right to exist. Now, what about the nation state of Israel? Does the nation state of Israel have the right to exist? Well, based on international law, Israel is recognized as a nation state. So check, yes, Israel has the right to exist. Let's go to the Palestinian side. Do the Palestinians have the right to exist? Now we're talking about people, individual. Yes, they do have the right to exist. Why? Because based on international law, humans have the right to life. So check for the Palestinian people. Now let's go to the Palestine as a nation state. So there's 4 questions. Does Palestine have the right to exist as a nation state? No. Not yet. Maybe one day. Why? This 4th one is no, because Palestine is not recognized by international law as a nation state. So it does not exist as a nation state. So when you ask me if the Palestine has a right to exist as a nation state, no. If it did, it would be a nation state right now. So maybe one day it will have the right, but right now it doesn't have that right. Maybe you should work towards a world where it has that right by stopping the fight against Israel, by not electing a government that does October 7th. That would be a start to get that right, but now you don't have that right. So see how easy it was for me to answer these 4 questions? Now you answer the goddamn questions. Let me see. We have some super chats here. Let me actually let him finish the sentence before I move over.
For other people to exist.
It's true. We're all in danger.
It doesn't make sense anymore. You understand? Does it make sense to you? This whole idea about like the moral checkpoint question that doesn't like lead to anywhere. And then when we ask,
it leads to see how I answering it made made it so clear, guys. Was it not useful? Like, oh, this moral checkpoint doesn't lead to anywhere. No, it makes many things clear. It doesn't lead. It leads to us understanding that either you or your audience or your fans don't want Israel to exist. So it has a utility. Don't act like it doesn't have a utility. And I also look at how I answered it. What didn't I clarify how I answered this question? Clarify a whole bunch of things for you guys. Didn't I do a proper job in making clarifying what the question is, cutting it into 4 different categories? Israeli people's right to live as an existing, like what does it mean? Israeli's right to exist means living. So Israeli people, Israel nation state, Palestinian people, Palestine nation state. I categorized it into 4 different parts so that we're clear what the question is, and I answered it, and I brought up a justification for each one of my 4 answers. Was that not helpful? Did that not clarify a lot of things for you guys that are not following maybe politics as much as the rest of us? Was that not helpful? The way I answered it? So yes, it is. There is utility.
the same question about Palestinians, we are faced with like all kinds of things about they're terrorists, they're animals.
For these horrible.
No. If you ask about Palestinian, we're not going to say all Palestinians are terrorists, but we're going to say many of them, unfortunately, are terrorists. And look at now what they play. So you say like, oh, if we're asking us about the Palestinians, you're going to say that they're all terrorists, they're all animals. Yeah, I mean, who are you asking? Maybe come ask me. I will tell you. I will give you the better answer.
We are faced with all kinds of things about they're terrorists, they're animals.
Just because you have some people who answer that question wrongly, then you think there's no utility in asking that? No, there's utility in asking that on the other side as well. I wouldn't refuse to answer that question. I wouldn't tell you, oh, what's the point of asking that question? Come ask me. Do Palestinians have the right to exist? Yes, easy. I wouldn't dance around it. So this guy is saying, for these horrible, inhuman animals.
These horrible, inhuman animals.
It just like doesn't make sense.
So who is he referring to? Is he talking about all Palestinians, or he's talking about Hamas? Because I've seen how you guys quote hunt without actually looking at the context. I mean, I don't like calling any humans animals because first of all, humans are animals. And also, when you call humans animals, I think people are not referring to other non-human animals. And I don't have anything against non-human animals. I don't know why. When did that become a slur? Okay, non-human animals. As a father of two baby girl dogs, I get insult. I feel offended whenever somebody uses animals as an insult. Non-human animals are amazing. I don't understand why people use that as an insult. But even if he was insulting, who's he insulting? He's insulting Hamas. Or all the other terrorists in Gaza. Was he general? I don't know. You didn't give me the context. I mean, I saw how the defense minister of Israel, when he was talking, when he called them animals, he was specifically talking about Hamas, and everybody clips him out as if he's talking about all Palestinians. So I don't trust you guys when you do this.
Yes, we could talk about this endlessly.
Like all of these questions doesn't make it just fills the air. Useless questions.
No, it's not useless. I explain the utility of these questions.
Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Israel? Do you condemn Israel? Does it matter if you condemn?
No, you don't. You can't condemn Hamas because Hamas as a whole has made it very clear that their goal is to do genocide on Jews and Israeli people. Okay, but if you ask me, do you condemn Israel? I will answer you. Okay, even though I think I will answer you, no, I don't condemn Israel. But nobody should be able to condemn Israel because Israel is not one thing. Israel does not have is not a unanimous. It's not like a homogeneous. Israel is a mix of so many different people with many different views, right? So, for example, you maybe ask about the Likud party, ask about Benny Gantz, ask about a specific take, ask about a specific individual. I can condemn Hamas entirely as a whole because the entirety of Hamas as a whole has put it in their charter that their goal is the destruction of Israel and Israeli people. That's why it's easy to generalize that because they have generalized themselves. But when it comes to Israel, Israel is a nation state. And every nation state deserves defending, but Israel deserves it the most because Israel's existence has been challenged the most, right? So you can't. Why? How could you condemn any nation state? Like I condemn Putin. I don't condemn Russia. Russia is a mix of people with many different views and ideologies. Why would I condemn the entirety of Russia? Right? I condemn Putin's actions, for example. So I don't condemn North Korea. I condemn, the government right now in North Korea, but I want the best for the North Korean people. I want them to be one day liberated from the brutal dictator that they have. So no, I don't condemn any nation state. So you want me to answer that question? Do you condemn Israel? No. See, I don't run away from the question. Even that question, that was not a waste of time. Me answering it clarified a whole bunch of things. So see how I don't have to refuse answering that question, but you have to. You run away from. So maybe you say, no, do you condemn Hamas? Maybe say yes. Maybe they say no. But don't run away from it. You are afraid of this question because you refuse to answer it. I see, guys. I see the super chats. I will read them very soon. Yes.
Condemn Israel. We've been condemning Israel. They're doing whatever they want.
Yes.
These are like, haven't you just like?
Oh, so he knows that when you ask people if you condemn Israel, people actually don't run away from the question, right? So he's like, oh, there's no use in condemning Israel. Then why do you condemn them all the time? You condemn Israel all the time. So there's no purpose in condemning Israel, but you do it. So how come you do it with Israel, but not with Hamas? How come you don't do it with Hamas? How come you run away from it?
Reach a point where you're looking at these questions are very stupid.
Emotional damage.
They're not stupid. You just know your audience. You know your audience, and you know it doesn't. You're enjoying your popularity, and you don't want to use these anti-Semitic, genocide supporting Muslims who are celebrating you. You don't want anti-Israeli people who are celebrating you. You don't want to lose them. That's why you're refusing. The question is not stupid. The question is a pretty basic, simple question. and you do it with Israel, but you just refuse. It's double
The
standard.
thing about like Israeli spoken, Naftali Bennett went on one day on Al Jazeera,
Oh, yeah, we know.
and he said, not every people in the world have the right to exist. The Kurds doesn't have a say. The people in the Bas doesn't have the right.
Not everyone in the world who wants a state gets one. The Kurds, for example, don't have a state. They want one. The Basques want a state. They don't have one.
See, when I tell you these people don't understand. So at least the first quote. Look at Ali Dawa and Small to Jannah. They think like, oh, we got them. You don't even understand what you're saying. And you know how I'm so confident when they say like, when they quote mine and say that, they call Palestinian human animals and blah blah, the animals and blah blah blah, right? And I know that they are lying or they don't understand what the other person said. Because even when they're trying to do a gotcha, the audio that they played is not what Bassem said. And I think their understanding of politics is so low that they don't understand the difference between what he thinks he said and what was actually said. Let's play them side by side next to each other one more time. So that this should make you doubt everything these people say to you about how evil Israel is. Every time now that you hear like, oh, they said this, they said that. Be skeptical, because look what was actually said and then what they played. I mean, what he think he said and what was the actual quote. So listen to this.
Yeah, we know.
And he said, not every people in the world have the right.
No. Let's go back a little bit more. This is.
Haven't you just like reached a point where you're looking at these questions are very stupid?
Emotional damage.
Here's the thing about like Israeli spoken. Naftali Bennett went on one day on Al Jazeera,
Oh, yeah, we know.
and he said, not every people in the world have the right to exist.
Not every people, individuals. So remember, nation states' right to exist, people's right to exist. Remember how I separated those? When you say people's right to exist, you're talking about the right to life. When it comes about nation states' right to exist, you're talking about a legal concept, concept that has been created that has utility by mankind or by humans. Humans decided that the concept of a nation state in modern history, this is something that works in our favor. And guess what? It has been very useful. This is a social construct and a very good one that has made our lives better. So the concept of a nation state is a modern legal structure which we give different nations the right for them to have to make our lives in this entire planet a lot better. And it has worked. So the second question, whether a certain nation state has the right to exist, we're talking about that legal concept that based on international is recognized by international law. So people's right to exist is their legal right to life. Nation states' right to exist is this modern concept of a nation state's right to be a legal entity. Okay, so he's saying that what is being said is certain people don't have the right to exist, meaning that they don't have the right to life. Okay, so this is what he's saying, but let's listen to the actual audio.
Naftali Bennett went on one day on Al Jazeera,
Oh, yeah, we know.
and he said, not every people in the world have the right to exist. The Kurds.
Oh, they don't have the right to exist. Like they could just die. Like is that what he said? Oh my God! If he actually said that, that is pure evil. He said not everybody has the right to exist. So like certain people could just die. Like and it's okay. Wow. Let's see. That is actually pure evil. Let's see what he has said.
doesn't have a say. The people in the Bas doesn't have the right.
Oh, the Kurds don't have the right to exist. Oh, really? The Kurds don't have the right to exist. Is that what he said? Let's listen.
Not everyone in the world who wants a state gets one. The Kurds, for example, don't have a state. They want one. The Basques want a state. They don't have one.
Oh, he was talking about a state. He wasn't talking about the Kurds' right to existence. He was talking about the Kurds wanting a state and not having a state. That seems very different. Yes, the Kurds don't have a nation state. They want a nation state, but they don't have the right to a nation state. You know how I know that? Because a Kurdish nation state has not been recognized by international law. So that means the Kurds don't have the right to a nation state. There is no Kurdistan as a nation state. Not having a Kurdistan as a nation state means that the international community, the international institutions around the world have not recognized Kurdistan as a nation state. That not being recognized means that there is no right for the existence of Kurdistan as a nation state. That means the Kurds do not have the right to a nation state. That is completely right. He did not question the Kurds' right to existence. He said that in the world that we live today, they don't have a state. And that is completely accurate. What the hell is wrong with you? What you're misquoting the person in front of our eyes. You are so ignorant about what is being said that you are even playing it right next to each other because you can't tell the difference. You're so ignorant about these simple concepts that you actually play them next to each other. That you think like, oh, here, yeah, this was the quote. Because if you knew the difference, you wouldn't play it. You would actually cut it at some point or edit it in a way to make it at least sound like they're the same. But you are so stupid that you can't even tell the difference. Guys, make sure that you like the stream because this is my excuse to teach people about very simple concepts. And I need more people to see it. I see 270 people are watching this on Twitter. I need you to come on Atheist Republic on YouTube. Search for Atheist Republic on YouTube and watch us there. And subscribe to Atheist Republic on YouTube.
But when it comes to Israel, it's all about their right. Israel have the right to defend itself. Israel had the right to exist. And I would say, like, Israel have the right to go f itself.
Well, Israel has the right. Imagine. So, well, thank you. That was, see, you exposed yourself. The entirety of this video was to show, with the purpose to show how useless it is to ask people if Israel has the right to exist. But then at the end of it, you played that Israel has the right to go F itself. So thank you for showing us that asking this question actually exposes people who want to challenge Israel's right to exist. And that's why we need to defend Israel. And that shows the utility of asking this question.
What do you make out of that? Because
I don't have time to go over the rest of this anymore. I didn't know it's going to take 1 hour just to get to the Bassem part. But let me actually go read the super chats. Wow, thank you guys for all the support. Oh, so yeah, I'm going to highlight them now myself. Okay. So Ayatollah Khamenei is saying a much more hinged comment would be that inbreeding has unfortunately had a how do you pronounce this? No, let me actually get this pronunciation correctly. Let me read. Deleterious. Okay, I learned something new today. So let's go from the beginning. A much more unhinged, I think. A much more hinged comment would be, I think this is a response to that racist super chat. Okay. A much more hinged comment would be that inbreeding has unfortunately had a deleterious, did I pronounce that properly, effect on Arab society. It's about the culture of Islam, not race. Yes, well, I mean, I don't know if inbreeding, I have to look at the stats. I know inbreeding has had a huge impact on Pakistan, unfortunately. And, you know, so with Pakistan, we have the mix of three toxic the effects of three toxic forces: 1, Islam; 2, poverty; and 3, inbreeding. So there's evidence for all of these three things, and I've seen the evidence, so I don't need to guess that. I know if anybody gets offended by saying that Pakistan is suffering from inbreeding, then get offended. I don't know what to do. This has been shown. Okay. So I know that about Pakistan, that inbreeding is also a major cause of a lot of the problems Pakistan is having, but I don't know if that's how true that is about the Arab society. Again, I'm not denying it. I just say I haven't looked into it. So maybe you're right, maybe you're not. But the toxic effect of Islam in the Arab world, that I'm sure about. Sid with the 100 rupee super chat. Thank you so much. Sid is saying, would you animate your Gazan arts or rather go more combating on grounds to support Palestinians? What? Gazan art? I like animating better as a way of expression. Okay, so I don't know exactly what the question is, but yes, we do blasphemous art. And with AI, it seems like at some point it's going to become a lot more easier for us to animate them, and we are looking into animating our blasphemous art. And if you're saying that Atheist Republic should use this blasphemous art to bring attention to the situation in Gaza, I agree with you, and I will look into it at some point. Thank you. Great Red Menace is saying, I feel that everything they say about Israel is just a projection of what they really want to do to others. I'm not sure. I'm not a psychologist. I can only judge them based on the things I've heard them say. And every time I'm telling you that this is their mindset, it's not because I'm doing like mind reading or doing psychological analysis on these people. When I tell you the mindset of a lot of these people is because I listen to them and I believe them. No, I don't need to do any psychological analysis or mind reading. So what you're saying, I don't know because I can't read people's minds. But so yeah, guys, every time on this channel, I tell you that this is what they think. This is the reason why they're doing it. I'm not guessing. I'm not acting like I'm an expert psychologist or a mind reader. I just when it comes to Muslims and their content, I follow them a lot and I listen to them a lot. I follow them on, watch their YouTube, go to their rooms on Clubhouse. I watch them with their content on YouTube. I listen to them. I listen to their discussions. I listen to the fight that they have with each other. That's how I know what I say I know. Okay. But yeah, you might be right. You might be wrong. I don't know. Okay. So thank you so much for the 15 shekels. I can't pronounce read your name because it's in Hebrew, but it says, if you notice the pro-terrorists never answer direct questions, God bless you and thanks from Israel. Well, I'm an atheist, but when you say God bless you, I just accept it as a message of kindness. So I would say thank you. And when it comes to your statement, okay, so I'm very picky about how I word things. So you're going to notice that I do that even when people are saying something that is mostly correct. But because I try to don't get upset when I'm nitpicking about every statement that is being made here. Okay, so when you say, if you notice the terrorists never answer direct question, you should change never to many times. Okay, because that's not true. Sometimes they are pretty direct about their views. So I've seen pro-terrorists. So the pro-terrorist sides that you're seeing are the ones that are coming on mainstream media or are trying to represent a more mainstream, a more acceptable cover for the rest of the world to accept, right? But if you actually go to the heart of them and actually go to the places where anti-Israeli views are a lot more acceptable, you can see that they answer these questions a lot more directly, and they're very clear about wanting the full destruction of the state of Israel and every single Jewish person and even non-Jewish person that lives there, right? So I've talked to many people who are anti-Israeli, and I asked them the same questions, and they have been very direct in answering my question. And some of them have even been direct enough to consider Arab Israelis to be traitors and worthy of annihilation as well. It's not just the Jews in Israel that are worthy of annihilation, but every single Arab that has an Israeli citizen is also a traitor and deserving of full destruction. So I have seen people who say that directly and openly. Anyways, guys, I try to keep these shows under an hour so that more people end up watching them. And I need you guys to... By the way, I agree with this comment mostly, but I'm just trying to be very clear about what my views are, okay? I need you guys to like this show. I need you guys to share this show. None of this, I know a lot of people have supported us financially, but with the low price of $0 and 0 cents, I appreciate the people who give us super chats. That really helps us continue this show. It really does help us. But the rest of you, you don't have to pay anything. You could just like. It doesn't cost anything. Okay, and you can leave a comment after the show is over, and you could share this video with your friends and enemies, and you could subscribe, and you could hit the bell notification. Okay, I think we're doing something good here. I think that we are hit the right balance of being pro-Israel, but not saying like, who was that other guy who's saying that Muslim lives are not worth anything? Like, we're not like that. Okay, we're defending Israel the right way. Okay. We're not acting like Palestinian lives don't matter. We're pro-Israel and we're pro-Palestine, and we think the best way to support Palestine is to support Israel's attempt to remove Hamas from Palestine. Okay, we support Israel. Supporting Israel is the best way to support Palestine. So we're not anti-Palestine like some people. Okay, we're pro-Israel and pro-Palestine. We want to save Gaza from Hamas. We want to save Gaza from Islam. Right, so. I think this channel has had a really good balance, and I think it deserves to grow. Like we're anti-Islam, but we're not anti-Muslim. You know, we're anti-Islam, but we're not racist. This is a very good. I mean, some of the things that we say you might disagree, but I think overall the balance on this channel is pretty good, and I think we deserve to be seen by more people. So please, if you think that we're doing some good here, do your part in trying to make this channel grow. Anyways, well, thank you. Anyways, guys, and leave when you're leaving some comments. Feedback was good, criticism is good, but to be honest, compliments also. I'm not gonna act like, oh, just give me criticisms because that's how people grow. Criticism is good, and I need that. But honestly, messages of support and people telling me what I'm doing right is such an emotional boost that I do need it, and it does gives me energy. So those comments are very much appreciated. Anyways, bye till next show. Mwah.